Yes! Christmas Misaki! I never knew I needed this in my life, but now that this is here, I feel perfection. I will never need anything else after this. I have the perfection that is Christmas Misaki, and for that reason, Christmas Misaki will be the picture for the rest of this video. Don't judge me, damn it! I want this! I need this in my life! Right, so, anyways, this week and last week's episodes, it's kind of a good thing I didn't record last week because I don't have a lot to say about last week's episode. It's kind of just exactly what you expect. It is beat for beat what you expect for filler. The couple things I sort of like, I like that Eska's transition from not being antagonist anymore feels very natural. I think that worked out well. I genuinely felt the whole episode she wants to help Shin. She wants to do the right thing for everybody. It feels very genuine, and that works. The bit with Nanami giving Shin the cake is cute. It is sort of funny to see Kanzaki in sort of this just, like, normal place, like, just at a Christmas party. I don't know why, that's kind of funny to me. But then the idol stuff happens, and it's just like, this is just generic, and I don't like it. I think I've said this before, I really don't like the idol shit in Vanguard. I find it sleazy, and just because you make fun of sleazy idol culture doesn't change the fact you're just doing that. I'm looking at you, Zombieland Saga. But so yeah, that was pretty generic. The one bit I liked was at the end. I mean, I didn't like the model being like, oh, well, your gift is from God or whatever the fuck. And I almost wanted Misaki to just be like, I am watching the death of my parents in front of me every second of every day. That would have been amazing. But they don't do that, and I get it. It's supposed to be cute, but it's not. It's mostly cynical, and I hate it. The one thing I like is at the end of the episode, when Shin asks the model why she's quitting being a model, and she says, oh, I'm taking a step back because being the best doesn't really matter to me anymore. And then you sort of find out at the end of the episode, she is getting married. And if you put two and two together, it kind of feels like what they're saying is that when you enter a new chapter in your life, your priorities change. For her, her big thing was just being the best idol, but now she doesn't necessarily want that, because now her life is kind of changing and going in a new direction. And if you know a little bit about some of the more screwed up aspects of Japanese idol culture, you kind of understand why getting married means she has to give up singing. Oh God, why? I hate idols. I hate idol culture. It's bad. But no, like, I think that's sort of an interesting aspect, because there's sort of this lingering thing in this prequel that Shin wants to accomplish all his dreams. He wants to take care of Misaki, but he also wants to run the shop, and he also wants to be Vanguard champion, and he can't. It won't happen. That's just reality. Many people do accomplish their dream, but Shin won't. And we know this because we know the future, and there's just sort of all these signs in front of him saying it's not you're not going to get everything you want. And, you know, it's just kind of that question of when is it going to hit him. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I think that's an interesting angle to do the episode on. Why the hell was the kid from Yokai Watch there? I thought I made a mistake at first, but like, no, that's the kid from Yokai Watch. Was someone tripping balls? Like, what is going on here? Anyways, that's all I really want to say about that. So moving on to this week's episode, and I think the sort of fear thing ties in nicely. So, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But first and foremost, so we got another recap episode. This one was not as funny as the last two, but what I appreciated about this was they just fucking went for it. Like, anything they could have done with the premise in front of them, they just did, and like, they didn't even care, and it worked. It was actually really funny. It's not as funny as the last two, but the thing is that there's enough jokes that just really hit that, God, it just ends up hitting as hard as it possibly can. And the big one people are talking about is they finally gave Kanzaki a Dio face. That was great. It was really funny. I've already made the joke like 3 times. But no, just really solid. I even like the bit where Misaki kicks Shin into the sky, and I like the bit where they kind of break the fourth wall and acknowledge the past, and Shin's just kind of like, "Heh," like, oh, that's great. Even the logo on the monitor was kind of funny, cheesy, and I think that's sort of what I liked about this, was it was just kind of this goofy thing, and you know what? It's kind of refreshing seeing everybody again. It's been a hot minute since we've seen the original cast, and it was weirdly just kind of refreshing seeing everyone bounce off each other, seeing everyone be funny, seeing Kai be forced to raise his hand. That got a good laugh out of me. Everything just kind of worked, and I think it's because when everyone came back for G, it didn't really work because it didn't feel earned. Because the original Card Fight Vanguard ends on such a fucking low note that it just, when everyone comes back, I'm just like, I don't care. I don't like anybody except like Misaki. So it didn't really do anything for me there, but because they were written better this time, and because they didn't make a big deal out of it, everyone was just hanging out like you feel they really would, and everyone was just bouncing off each other. I also love we pretty much get confirmation that the glasses girl likes Naoki. The way when he's just like, Eska's hot, and she's like, hey. That was good. I like that. I love the gimmick to the recap. I love Shin is describing this like the most epic movie of all time. It's really funny. And I also like the idea that this kind of bridges the gap between the two versions of Shin, because it's very apparent that this whole prequel thing was not planned from the beginning, because it feels very much that they've tried to retroactively make Shin a cool character, and I've always felt this disconnect. Like, I don't believe that this guy turns into this guy in 10 years. Like, he should be more exciting, he should be more eccentric, in the same way like when you had in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Joseph Joestar, who was like the most awesome badass anime character in 2, and in 3, yeah, he has to sort of like take a step back so Jotaro can be the MC, and they do kind of, I feel like, kind of weaken him in 3, but he's still the fun, eccentric guy you love, whereas Shin in the first season of V is just kind of like the sort of goofy guy in the corner who doesn't stand out very much because he's the mentor character. Why would you care? But then they have to sort of turn him into this cool, eccentric guy, and like, in this episode, I kind of believe he would turn into this guy, because he does sort of have that sort of childlike innocence. He's still got this energy to him. I love when he's describing Eska, there's almost like this sort of rivalry still going on between them. That's a lot of fun, and I really like that, and that now feels like, no, this is how Shin would be. And it is sort of melancholy that we ended last week on the note we did, because then you see in this episode, Shin wound up doing exactly what that idol did. Like, something happened that resulted in him having to kind of give up his dream, whether it was intentional or not, just so he could raise Misaki and have the shop. And like, he's no longer just this cool rebel badass he was back then. Now he's just the shop owner, and everyone likes him, but no one thinks of him in that sort of cool, exciting way. And even like at the end there, when Shin is looking at Aichi and Misaki laughing together, and he's just like, I couldn't get her to smile, but you could. I thought I was gonna fucking tear up, because it's just kind of this idea that he couldn't do everything. Like, he couldn't accomplish everything he set out to do. And that is sad, because so many shows are like, oh no, you do just accomplish everything. Whether it makes sense or not, you don't. This is a bit more of reality, in that he didn't become champion. You know, he's got the shop, but he couldn't make Misaki happy. He couldn't fix her problems. He couldn't help her fully. It took like a decade and meeting other people kind of like her to make her get better, and Shin acknowledges this, and there's something just kind of beautiful about that. Like, it's sad, but that's just kind of how life is, and that idea that Shin will just always be that guy who's just always going to be trying, I think is kind of beautiful, and I really like it. So then our last thing of note is we set up the coming arc, and fuck, I'm interested. I want to see what happens next. The whole just bit at the end there where Shin's like, I never smiled like that again. Like, something fucking happened. Something bad happened, and we get to find out what it is. Something bad happened to Rai, something bad happened to Chrono. Showing off baby Chrono like that is a really fucking smart decision. It really is, because like, it sets up that if you know who Chrono is, you know that they're doing something more interesting with him than they did. showing him off first like this. And if you don't know who Chrono is, now you're like, well, how does this kid fit into everything? And they've already built up Rai and made him likable and interesting, and I want to see what happens to him. So, fuck, I want to know what happens next. Like, even the way they said Gear Chronicle in the episode preview was just kind of like, oh boy, shit's about to go down. Like, I really want to see where this is going, and even the way they showed off Myojin, who's such a lame villain, looked kind of badass. So yeah, that's where we're going there. So yeah, tell me what you thought of this episode. Share with me the perfection of Christmas Misaki, your opinions on that. And tell me what you thought about all this, and if you're excited to see what's to come. And as for the Vanguard question of the week, the new set is officially here. What of the 3 clans are you playing? I obviously am playing my Aggravating deck, and Aggravating's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it if you're just looking for some goofy aggro deck to try out. But yeah, tell me that below. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me as we see as shit just kind of goes miserable.